Welcome to episode 310 of the show. Before we begin, I'd like to apologize in advance because I have my son here with me. That's the little one, the baby, and that's because school is currently on midterms. Now, I know I've been saying this for a couple of years, but somehow I just keep getting sidetracked, lost in the day to day, creating the podcast, trying to chase up clients, stuff like that. And then I pick up the kids from school, like I did a couple of days ago. And then the receptionist is like, okay, you guys have fun, have a fun midterm week. And yeah, that's the same thing that happened to me this week. So they're on midterms. And so the baby is with me currently. So you might hear some banging on in the background and stuff like that. So yeah, that's where that extra noise is coming from. If you happen to hear anything. So yes, now with apologies out of the way, let's move straight to business. What did I say? Okay, yes, episode 310 or maybe 311, I'll have to confirm, of what has to be Nigeria's longest running business podcast. And like I like to say when I put out this claim, if any of you know any podcast to the contrary that has been going on for 3 years and for more than 300 episodes, please let me know so that I can correct my boasts and also so that I can share all the good stuff out there to other people who are looking for valuable business content to listen to. Because the podcasting space in Nigeria, there's lots of gist podcasts. I think the political podcasts are really good. There's is it Hard Talk or Hard Copy from channels. That's the one that I discovered recently that I really like. It's just pretty much the audio from the TV show, but that's a good listen to. But anyway, I'm just saying that there seems to be a hunger for this kind of content. And so, if you come across any other podcast that has been going on for longer than 3 years, more than 300 episodes, let me know. Shoot me a message so that I can take dressing, so I can stop boasting. So, welcome to the show. Now, it would appear that over the weekend, there are a couple of you, a few hundred actually, who discovered the show. I don't know why. I just saw the spike in the analytics. And for you guys, I have two questions basically. Number one, where have you guys been? How come you haven't discovered the show? And then number two, who is it that sent you guys my way? And anybody please reach out, shoot me a message. You can use the audio recording function in the app. That's in the Anchor app. Or if you're listening on Spotify, there's the community feature, so you can send me voice messages through there. Now, the reason why I'd like to know where all you guys are coming from, well, it's because number one, I'm curious, because you guys just came in a huge drove. I mean, I just woke up, and then all of a sudden there were hundreds of you on the podcast, and so it's really nice. I'm glad that you're here. And then the second thing is because I also would like to reach out to whoever it is that put you guys on the podcast, so I can say thank you for bringing good traffic my way. So thank you very much for joining the community. I hope that your stay here is going to be a fun and a valuable one, and I'll do my best to make sure that I produce valuable business content here for you guys as often as I can. I had a busy weekend, and so that's why the weekend episodes didn't go out, but I am back, and this is today's recording. Okay, now for today, what would I like to talk about today? Something happened to me recently that I thought would be a good idea to riff on. And of course, for those of you who are long-time listeners of the podcast, you know that these things happen every once in a while. Something happens in my personal life and I figure, oh, that's a good idea. Let's share it because there are business ramifications here. Now, you guys, the old listeners, know that I have a client who is in the automotive space, and we've been exploring different ways of drumming up sales. And one of those ideas has been content marketing. If you've never heard of content marketing before, it's just pretty much the same thing as what used to be called, I think it used to be called thought leadership, maybe about a decade or so ago. Everybody used to be on and on about thought leadership. So it's pretty much the same play where you're putting out relevant content that your customer base, your client base finds valuable. And through that content, they reach out to you guys, and then you guys get to do some business together. So we've been considering a content marketing play for this client of mine in the automotive space. And we've been at this for maybe 2 months now. I think 2 months. Apologies. You can hear my son in the background. Yeah, I knew this would happen. Anyway, let me try and wrap this up as quickly as possible. So we've been at this for about 2 months, and then all of a sudden the guy reaches out and is like, "Hey, oh boy, how far? Like, what can we do to boost this thing? What can we do to get some traffic on this, to get some sales on this?" And then I had to remind him about the conversations that we had in the beginning. That when you're trying to do a content play or a thought leadership play, it's a long-term thing. So it's not the kind of thing that you start doing it in January and then money starts flowing in February or in March. So we discussed the possibility of doing Google ads and stuff like that, but I didn't think it was a good idea anyway, since the blog and the other resources that we've been putting out there have just been going on for about 2 months. 2 months, and it's not. It doesn't look good from a credibility standpoint. Like if you're going to run ads to someone who should be an auto specialist, and then you get to his blog or his website, and then it's like they only have 2 or 3 posts. That's not a good credibility play. So I figured we have to wait a little longer. And that's pretty much what I want to reiterate over here on the podcast today, because there are a lot of us involved in the wedding space and in the event space who have unrealistic expectations as well about how quickly we can use our content to start getting profits. So you're a photographer, you assume that okay, you have a bunch of weddings. If you post on Instagram every day for 1 month, people should start coming in, giving you inquiries, and giving you business. And unfortunately, that's not how it works. And so because of that, people get burnt out, they get tired, and then that's when things start slipping off the wagon, unfortunately. If that is you, don't worry. It happens to everyone. It happens to the best of us. In fact, as at the time of me making this podcast today, on what's today? The 14th of February. Oh yeah, happy Valentine's Day to you guys. I forgot to mention. So happy Vals. I hope Valentine's has a happy ending for most of you. Wink, wink. Where was I? Okay, yeah, so today, as at the 14th of February, I think I haven't updated the Instagram on the wedding handle for must be about 3 or 4 months. And the reason why I know that is because the wedding planner reached out to me and she's like, this lady that I spoke to you about, and I sent her the handle, and she's like, how come he hasn't posted anything? Has he gone out of business? So, yeah, it happens to the best of us, but it's something that requires whatever your strategy is, whether weekly posting, daily posting, some people post several times a day, whatever the strategy is something that you have to do consistently over the long haul. So if the goal is to post once a month, but then you disappear for every 6 months, it's going to slow your roll. If the goal is to update your Instagram or the website or whatever every week, and then you disappear for 3 weeks in a row, that's going to make you lose momentum as well. So basically, we need to have the right expectations when we head into these sorts of things, not just for people in the automotive space or any other business, but for those of us in the wedding and the event space as well, because it does hurt our credibility, and it's a long-term play. We can't run away from that. It's a long-term play, so we have to be sure that we have what it takes. So if you dabble in wedding photography, adjust your expectations. Don't expect that because you were testing out and you did 10 weddings, and from the 10 weddings you have 500 images, and so you're going to do a blitz and upload the 500 images every day for the next 3 months. Don't assume that because you have 3 months of activity that you're now going to get some business from it. So organic reach is down. Everybody knows that. So not everyone that follows you is going to see your posts. So you might have to do the paid thing eventually, promotions and advertising. But that's a topic for another day. Sorry, wrestling with the baby here while trying to wrap this up. Where was I? Okay, yeah. So let's have realistic expectations, no matter what business we are involved in, when it comes to social media, online content, content marketing, and thought leadership. It's a long-term play, so don't get disappointed. Find ways to dig in and to execute. And this is the only time where I permit people to talk about this whole passion thing. Because actually, if it's something that you're passionate about or you find some enjoyment about, it gives you staying power. But beyond that, for those of you who are long-term listeners of the podcast, I'm sure you will remember that I don't believe that the passion criteria is something that you should use to decide where you hop into business. I'm not going to recap that over here, but this is where the passion does help, because like folks have pointed out that when it comes to the sales consultancy practice that I'm running now, and when it comes to this show, that I have been more consistent with the show and with the sales consultancy than on the photography side. So photography is a little bit on and off, but for the podcast, for the blog, and for the sales consultancy practice, you can expect to see something from me pretty much almost every day at this point, at least 5 days a week. So yes, passion does play into it, but it's not a key criteria. It's not a determining criteria, in my own opinion, anyway. More discussions on that later on in the future. So, yeah, that's it. That's a tidbit that I'm going to share here. And that's the experience that I've had with my automotive client. And those are the takeaways that I hope we should be able to take from it to apply to our prospective businesses. So, once again, sorry about my son interrupting the poor audio quality. This is what we're going to have to contend with for the rest of the week until they get back to school. So don't worry, next week we'll be back to our regular sessions of quiet podcast recordings with no distractions. Expect more distractions, especially on Thursday and Friday, because my older son is going to be home as well. So somehow we'll make it work. And don't worry, eventually, when we start making a little bit of money off of this, I'll have a dedicated working space and what else? Yeah, dedicated studio space. And so I should be able to get in, close the sound booth, and get with the recording. So thank you very much for listening to the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. I'm your host, Abuja-based event media professional and sales consultant Tavishima Ayede. Once again, saying thank you very much to the hundreds of you that jumped on the podcast over the weekend. So please do not forget, there is the audio messaging function on Anchor. So look for the dialogue bubble, click on that. You can shoot me a message. It would be nice to hear from you guys. And I'd like to include audio clips on the podcast as well, as soon as I can figure out how to do so, because I'm not a techie. I'm not really an app person. But eventually I'll figure it out. Just send the messages first and we'll take it from there. And then if you're listening on Spotify, there's also the community feature. Just look for the text bubble, and then hit that. You'll be able to shoot me a message. So it'll be wonderful to hear from you guys. So thank you very much for hopping on the show. Thank you very much for your time and attention. And looking forward to a wonderful and prosperous relationship between us all. And by that, I'm speaking particularly to the hundreds of you who just swarmed the podcast over on the weekend. So, happy Valentine's, and I'll catch you guys at the next recording.